Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. How many of you have used Buy Now Pay Later or BNPL before? Right. For those who already experienced using the Buy Now Pay Later, do you know how it works or how much does it cost you? What are the misconceptions on BNPL? And if anything goes wrong, who can you turn to? Okay, hold on to your thoughts. Let me first share with you some interesting facts and figures with regards to BNPL industry in Malaysia last year. Right? So last year, we have 3 main non-bank BNPL players in the country. And their ranking are based on the market reach, that is in terms of number of active customers they have, numbers of merchants they acquired, and also in terms of the total receivables or total outstanding balance. We have about 3.4 million active customers that range with the age of ranging from 21 to 45 years old. And these can be translated into 1 in 10 of Malaysian population. Active customer means a customer with at least 1 BNPL transactions throughout the 12 months. And we have about 600,000 merchants acquired. And these merchants can be across a lot of sectors. Can be retail, transportation and automotive, food and restaurant, professional services, you name it, cut across a lot of sectors. Yeah? And although BNPL is a fully digital platform, now in terms of merchants acquired, we can see a trend that not only online merchants, but it also has encroached into physical merchants. So if you walk at the mall, you can see some shops already offering BNPL. I mean, you can pay using BNPL. Yeah? And then throughout the year, last year, we have about 80 million number of transactions that worth 6 billion ringgit. However, if you compare it to credit cards or personal loans, yeah, if you compare to credit cards specifically, this number is quite small. It's less than 10% of credit cards' total volume and value. And to be precise, it's about 9% of credit cards' total volume and about only 3% of the credit card's total value. In the past few years, there is a lot of newspaper headlines that highlights areas with regards to BNPL. And that touches on the proliferations of BNPL offerings in Malaysia, the risk of uncontrolled usage of BNPL, the importance of financial management, especially to the young adults like you, and also the potential of regulations of BNPL industry in Malaysia. Yeah. So with that, I'll segmentize my sharing today into 3 areas: the BNPL, the credit consumer, and the regulations. BNPL is a very popular buzzword, in the community and always sparks an interest in the conversation among various stakeholders. It is a new and fast emerging personal form of credits that grew in popularity because of several reasons: high cost of living, ease of getting credit, change of lifestyle, and more importantly, since the COVID-19 pandemic, the increase and growth of e-commerce transactions. One of the reasons for its strong take-up rate is because many in this consumer segment do not have credit cards, so they do not have that opportunity to pay their purchases in installment. Yeah? Another reason is that these BNPL providers, they are filling the gaps where the banking institutions do not focus on. And from the merchants or retailers' perspective, they see 2 advantages of offering BNPL. They tend to see the increase in terms of conversion rate that is the possibility of their customer end up buying something from their stores. They also see a larger basket size. That means that represent impulsive buying, where the credit consumers like you and me are purchasing items that are not in our shopping list. Yeah? So the purpose of BNPL is actually lending to the credit consumers for them to purchase goods and services where the repayment will be deferred or staggered within a certain period. So how does it work? This BNPL. In general, the modus operandi covers or consists of three stakeholders: the credit consumers, the merchant, and also the BNPL providers. In the scenario where the credit consumers wanted to purchase an item cost 100 ringgit, for example. Yeah? So on the day of the purchase, at the checkout, the credit consumers just choose BNPL as a payment method. And that transaction will be approved within a few seconds. And of course, the credit consumers need to pre-register with the BNPL provider. And usually, this credit consumer will be given on-the-spot approval or a preset credit limit based on his eligibility and affordability level. Yeah? At the back end, during the transaction processing and settlement, BNPL provider will pay the merchant at a discount. For this example, maybe 98 ringgit after deducting 2 ringgit for the merchant discount rate, or MDR we call it. So this is a common term in the payment industry where the merchant will be charged a small amount of fee in exchange for the services that the BNPL providers are providing. Meanwhile, the credit consumer will pay back the BNPL provider either in full after a certain period. This is what they call a postpaid transaction, or in partial over several months under a certain installment plan. So this installment plan can be as short as 3 months or it can be as long as 12 months. Okay, now how about credit consumers? So based on the Consumer Credit Act, or CCA, we call it, the definitions of credit consumer includes individuals and also individuals who act as a personal guarantor. It also includes micro and small enterprises who receive credit facilities not more than 300,000. Yeah? Because of the convenience and ease of use of this BNPL, many would like to use BNPL. But however, BNPL can act as a double-edged sword, meaning that it can be good and it can be bad at the same time. Yeah? It can be good in the sense that it helps the credit consumer to smoothen their financial commitment by having better cash flow planning. But it also can be bad in the sense that it gives false sense of affordability. These days, where youngsters especially always wanted instant gratification, BNPL not only will influence them how to buy, but it can creep into decisions of what to buy. So it is very important for the credit consumers to really understand the key features of BNPL, especially the fees and charges, before they start using it. Yeah, so the rule of thumb is that if you cannot purchase it outright, you cannot afford it. So spend beyond your means. There are 3 misconceptions that I want to share with you today. The first one is that BNPL leads to a higher household indebtedness. But in fact, the 2 key main contributing factors to higher household indebtedness are vehicle loans and housing loans. And for BNPL, with a average transaction value of less than 100 ringgit per transactions, the exposure of BNPL is only 0.07% of the total household debts. And last year, 97% of the total outstanding balance of BNPL are fully paid by the credit consumers. So it shows that the credit consumers are afford to pay. And there are many motivations for the credit consumers to use BNPL. The credit facility is not the only reason. Some may opt for BNPL because to use it as an alternative payment methods, in exchange for the convenience, in exchange for the promotions. And some may use it as a tools to help them smoothen the cash flows, So that leads me to misconception number 2, which is BNPL is interest-free. Traditionally, yes, but over time, BNPL providers, in order to sustain their financial capability, these BNPL providers, they start to introduce variation to their business model. So now there is not all BNPL are interest-free. Some may charge you interest or fee. Even you opt for full early settlement, and some may charge you if you opt for a longer settlement period. So it is important that you really look at the terms and conditions. Look at the fees and charges, especially the late payment charge for each BNPL facility that you opt for. Yeah. The third misconception is that BNPL is risk-free. If you compare to credit cards and personal loans, some of us might underestimate the potential consequences of mispayment or exceeding their budget by having a multiple BNPL commitment. Last year, 3% of the total outstanding balance of credit cards, of the BNPL are recorded overdue. So these involve 300,000 credit consumers. Although if you compare with credit cards, the number quite small, but if this trend is keep increasing, it could be alarming. Yeah. And for upcoming regulation, actually, there will be a requirement for this BNPL provider to share the credit data of their credit customers to the CRA, the credit reporting agency. And this data will be shared across the industry. So if you miss your payment, it will affect your credit rating for your future BNPL or personal loan applications. Okay, so let's move on to regulations. As a regulator, we need to wear multiple hats. And we have to juggle and strike a delicate balance between two roles. One as the catalyst to spur the market development and innovation. At the same time, we are also the protector of this consumer. So, two-pronged strategy is very important. At one hand, we want to instill a responsible borrowing culture among the credit consumers. This can be done through a continuous awareness and education program that we have with our collaborators and partners, targeting as young as college and university students. Yeah. On the other hand, there are also initiatives underway to regulate these BNPL providers, especially their conduct requirement. The Consumer Credit Act, or CCA, aim to encourage, to promote a fair, efficient, and transparent credit industry. We will table this act at the Parliament soon, and once it is enacted, the Consumer Credit Oversight Board, or we call it CCOB, will be the competent authority to ensure the conduct practices of this BNPL provider and at the same time protect the interests of the consumers. You can find all the updates on this on our website at ccob.line. And finally, consider this. Before you start to use BNPL, pause and ponder. Is it good or bad for you? Your choices today will determine your future financial. Thank you.